Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Urshel Speaks. So glad to have you out. Going to do something a little bit different today. I'm going to talk about something that I really don't know very much about at all. Can't speak with any authority. I might even make some stuff up just so it fits the conversation that I'm trying to have. But, you know, that's what people do anyway. So I figured I might as well join the crowd. Want to welcome you to this week's edition of Urshel Speaks. Remember to go. I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed in you guys. I don't know why you're not doing your part. I'm spitting sunshine and rainbows. I'm here to make the world a better place on Urshel Speaks. And some of you, yes, thank you. You have gone to my YouTube channel and you have subscribed. You've liked a couple of videos, but the rest of you haven't. And not only that, those of you who did not share it and tell everybody else why they need to be listening to the amazing stuff that me and my guests from time to time will be sharing. So you need to do that. You need to help me because I got to get to 1,000 subscribers before I really turn on the gas and really start bringing heat for your ear holes to change the world, because that's what we're here to do. And this week, we're going to have another conversation that revolves a little bit around, you know, our country and patriotism and the things that we experience, but maybe from a different perspective. And this conversation has been, I'm going to slow down a little bit because I think I was already getting gassed up. I know Natalie Swanson likes to do that, but I'm going to try to slow down. And this conversation has been bouncing around in my head for, I don't know, probably close to a year. And I've got some different notes, and I'm not paying attention to any of those today because there's a few different thoughts that I've had over and over again over the past year, maybe even year and a half, because 2020 is such a blur. But the question I've been asking, and I may have asked a few other people, I don't know, I have to go back and look, is who are our nation's heroes today? Or even if we say not today, who are the heroes of our nation? And, you know, and I know some of that, some of the answers to that question will be defined by who you're asking the question to, or in what context. You know, if you talk about the heroes of the Revolutionary War, you know, there's certain names to come to mind. And if you talk about, you know, we talk about heroes personally, a lot of times in the context of war, and, you know, World War II heroes, World War I heroes, Vietnam heroes, who've gotten medals for recognition for service or things that they've done in those extreme contexts. And the reason why I say I'm going to talk about something that I have no authoritative knowledge on today is, you know, I'm not even just thinking heroes, because that's you know, that's probably less than the conversation that we need to be having in our country today. So let's talk about superheroes. This is where I honestly probably have to make up everything. I've seen, you know, a few of the superhero movies. I'm going to be 51 tomorrow. I can't tell you who's Marvel and who's DC at all. And part of me is almost proud of that. And maybe I shouldn't be. But yeah, so this is something that I really, you know, I didn't read a lot of comic books. I read a lot growing up, not comic books. I was never into that thing. But I think about characteristics of superheroes, as, you know, the fictional characters that they are, and the people that we label as heroes based on a circumstance, in most cases, that they found themselves in. They didn't wake up that day and say, I'm going to go out and do something heroic. An opportunity presented itself. And so that heroism that we talk about on the news, and the things that we celebrate during the Capitol riots that happened on January 6th, there's an officer that is being held as a hero, and I believe actually he was first airborne in the Army prior to becoming a Capitol police officer. And they show the film of him, the crowd coming towards him, and he looks and he sees the congressmen and senators still, in their chamber, and so he purposely leads the crowd in another direction, and so he's being labeled as a hero. And actually, I think I saw a couple of articles that talked about some great things that he had done while he was active duty and served and deployed in the military. In the veteran community, we have lots of people that come back home and are labeled heroes. Many of those people, it's because they ended up in a combat environment and they got into a situation, and maybe an IED or a firefight or something happened, and they got injured and they lost a leg or they lost an arm, or a good friend of mine, Michael Jernigan, he lost his sight. He lost sight in both of his eyes in the war on terror. And so these men and women come back, and they're called heroes because of what they experienced, the situation that they found themselves in. Now, every one of them, just like I did, they signed up. The government paid them twice a month on the 1st and 15th. Guess what? Some of us are brilliant, amazing, wonderful people trying to, take over the world. Some of us, probably just trying to escape the life that we had or didn't feel to have any options. Some people were extremely patriotic and wanted to serve their country or went in after 9/11. There's a whole myriad of reasons why people join the military or become firefighters or become police officers and get in those situations where when a crisis happens, there's a chance that you could suffer loss, that you could take some damage, that you could die. And as a result of that, if you find yourself in that situation, you come back and you're labeled a hero. And I think that that's interesting in that concept, because, when we think about heroes, when we mind, there's some other things that we always attach. When someone is in a situation, that act of heroism, that moment where actually they may not have even done anything extraordinary individually. It may have just been a circumstance that they were in. We attach that title of hero because of what it cost them. We attach that title of hero because maybe they did something that we didn't do, or we feel like we would not have done. And so we attach that. But when we create the superheroes in our mind, there's another thing, and this is going to be quick today, because I think, I want to challenge one particular thought. When we create the superheroes, and what I do know about that, I do see going all the way back to, Clark Kent and, the original, Wonder Woman and $1 Million Man. I don't know. I guess he was a TV show that kind of seemed like a superhero. All the way through Batman. I do know this. I do know that there's controversy as to whether Batman is actually a superhero because he doesn't have any powers. I've heard some people geek out over that conversation and say that he's not a superhero. He just has lots of good technology and toys. But, somebody had to come up with those. And I don't know if it was Alfred, whatever. I'm the old Batman, with Eartha Kitt and all of that. So that's really as far as my knowledge will go on the superheroes, but I do know about that controversy. So all you people that are, judging me right now because I don't know anything about superheroes, you got to give me credit for that. But, and whether it's, I saw Black Panther movie, I've seen some of the new ones, the new Wonder Woman. And out of all these movies, I know some of these other guys, Wolverine. One of the things that I think is interesting is that there's a part of their life, and there's a part of their persona and character where, just like the men and women who join the military, just like the men and women who serve on the police department or the fire department, or in other places where there's a potential for sacrifice, where it takes courage, where they stand in front of other people. There's a part of the superheroes that blends into being just like you and me, an everyday person, living an everyday life, going to the store to buy bread, taking out the trash, doing all the things that regular people do. That connection between the superheroes that we imagine in our minds and the ones that we put in the movies, and the ones that, kids hang on the walls and buy the toys and the decals and all of these other things, that common thread between the young man in the Army or the Navy, the young woman, on the fire department, and the person wearing Lycra, flying around with superpowers, is that at some point it all comes back to them being a regular person. And I just found this quote by Maya Angelou that I wasn't even, I just found it literally before we went live. And she says, "I think a hero is any person really intent on making this a better place for all people." I'll read that again. "I think a hero is any person really intent on making this a better place for all people." And I thought that really touched on the overall point that I wanted to make about heroes. I have a friend, a great friend, godmother to my son, and she works in the school system here where I live. Her name is Christy Foreman. She better be listening, and she better be telling everybody to subscribe to my YouTube channel, because that's really important. Show your love. But, I wrote her a letter several years ago, because not only does she work in the school system, but she works with the children who I believe need the most help, and their special needs children. And she, has come home with more bruises, broken bones, bite marks. Everything that you can imagine. She goes to work in a combat zone, sometimes with, kids that are 6'5", 280 pounds, and they're severe and profound. They can't speak and they're acting out, and she's having to defend herself and other teachers and children. And she goes into that situation every day. Now, this is a brilliant, brilliant person who could be doing what she does. She's a speech pathologist. She could be doing that in so many different contexts. She could be making a lot more money than she does in the school system. And there was a reason why she initially went to the school system, but I know that she stayed there even beyond that, because of the value that she knows that she brings, the love and the passion that she has for those children that she's able to work with and to help them get through this part of life and be more prepared for the next part of life. And it brings me back to that common thread between the superheroes of our imagination and that we pay big money to go see on the screen, and the young man, the young woman who serves in some other capacity, to the school teachers and whoever else. There is that piece of humanity that is normal, that is everyday, that's just like us. And I believe that's the part that hooks us. That's what makes Superman to us, not just because he can fly, not because he can leap tall buildings in a single bound. They probably don't even say that anymore, but it was cool back when my dad used to say that to me. But because at some point, he's a mild-mannered reporter. He's just a regular guy, doesn't even seem to have a whole lot of confidence, has a hard time asking out, Lois Lane and all of these other things. He's just like us. He has insecurities. He has frailty or weakness. And it touches the part of humanity where we all live and breathe every single day. None of us are courageous all the time. None of us are running into the fire every single day. None of us are going into combat, every morning when we wake up and say, pressing the, hitting the time clock and say, it's time for me to go find some IEDs. That's not the life that any of us live. And some of us get thrust into moments that require us to act. And based on the outcome of that act, we look like heroes. But deep down, every person, every Medal of Honor recipient that I've ever talked to, every Purple Heart recipient that I know that I've ever talked to, none of them call themselves heroes. I know one guy, and it's almost like, and he received the Medal of Honor, and he, there's a part of him, he said, this medal doesn't belong to me. It belongs to my unit. It belongs to the men and women that I served with. This isn't about me at all, but he's the one who received the medal. And I think that when we listen to what they have to say, when we talk to, the firefighter after he's come out of a burning building, and maybe he's, carried out a little boy or a little girl or someone's dog, none of them will say, beat their chest and say, hail the conquering hero. Look at me. And many of them will say, I'm just doing my job. I'm just here to serve. And so my point is, the only point that I'm really trying to make today is I think the heroes walk among us every single day. And as a matter of fact, I think every person alive has the opportunity to be a hero. And I think the problem that we have is not enough of us see what we do and who we are that way. We see ourselves as the mild-mannered reporter, but we don't see ourselves as the person who stands up in a situation and is courageous and is bold and who's not willing to let a wrong stay wrong, and they want it to be right, and they're willing to sacrifice and possibly even take some damage, possibly even be hurt, relationally or politically or whatever the case may be, and they take a stand for what's right. Because like Maya Angelou said, they want to see the world be a better place, and they want to be a part of that. Everybody wants the world to be a better place. Everybody wants the world to be better for their children and their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren. But who's willing to sacrifice in those everyday small ways to make it better? We just celebrated Martin Luther King Day. Everyone's not going to sacrifice with their life by getting assassinated because of what they stood for. But that's not what's necessary for the level of greatness that we need and we want to achieve. What's required is that we have courage in the grocery store and in our homes and in the mall whenever we can get back to a mall, or on social media. I love it when I see people have courage, not the keyboard warrior type where they talk tough, but where they stand up and say, that's not right. You can't say that. You can't do that. The people that are willing to suffer loss so that we can all be better. Those are the heroes that our nation needs. And let's get all in the political sauce here. There were people when Barack Obama was elected president and he talked about hope and change. There were people that saw just that as him being a hero, and there were, and most of it was on the other side, the savior, and Donald Trump was elected and people said the savior. And let me tell you something, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, there's no president that is going to be the savior of our nation and make our nation everything that it can. No president is going to do that. No president has ever done it in the past. It's not going to happen in the future. What's going to happen, if it happens, it's going to be because people, the everyday people, decide that greatness is who we are. So greatness is what I must be. And it's what I must raise my children to be. And it's what I must require from the people around me. And people should be embarrassed not to be pursuing their own personal greatness because we've made that the norm. We've changed from this mentality of just existing and Netflix binging and all of these things that just consume our time and our mind. And we start pursuing our own personal greatness and start pursuing greatness in our homes and recognizing that every superhero is just like me. They wake up, and sometimes a great opportunity is going to present itself, and I may be able to do something that everyone says that was heroic. Or I'm just going to get up every day. I'm going to decide to be great. I'm going to decide to have moral and social courage. I'm going to decide to dream big. I'm going to decide to start that business. I'm going to decide to do whatever it is that pulls me out of this status quo mentality that as long as the lights are on, as long as the bills are paid, as long as we get to go on vacation, everything's okay. Well, it's never going to be okay that way. During 2020, we saw people that were being labeled heroes that no one was talking about as heroes. My daughter's a nurse, and everyone was calling her all the frontline workers. And the people at Walmart, because we needed to get groceries, they were essential workers. All of these people became important, and they were getting up and sacrificing when most of us were staying home. And they have the same concerns. They have children, they have fears, they have concerns about the coronavirus and everything else. But they got up every day and they did it because I needed eggs. I needed some bacon. I needed the things to sustain my life. So they got up and they went to work. I don't think this is a unique time or unique opportunity. What's unique in the fact that it's never been here before and it'll never be here again. But I think the story is the same. We all live when we live and in the time that we live, and we have the opportunity to be great. We have the opportunity to be heroes and to be superheroes. And the only thing that we have to change, we don't have to run into a phone booth like the old Superman did and put on spandex and a cape. We just have to change our thinking. And maybe we need to add a sense of responsibility, saying, the world needs me to be a superhero. Right here where I am, in the circumstances where I am, the world needs me to sometimes be uncomfortable and sacrifice for things that are greater than my comfort and convenience. And I've felt that all of my life, and I think part of my mission is to make sure that other people feel that your greatness is required. Your being a superhero is necessary. You weren't put here. I wasn't put here just to exist, suck up oxygen for 70, 80, 90 years, and then, become worm food. All of us were given a purpose, and we can all live that out, and we can all live it out in a great way. So I want to leave you with that. The world needs your greatness. Our country needs your greatness. Stop looking to anybody else. Stop looking for, someone to send on Washington, D.C. or anything else. The greatness of our nation starts with the greatness of our people. It starts in our neighborhoods, it starts in our homes, and it starts in our school. And we can watch all of the curated news sources that you want to watch. We can listen to all the bad news. We can vilify all the people that we don't agree with. But the truth is that the greatness we want to see is the greatness that we should see when we wake up in the morning and we look in the mirror and we say, that's it. That's the superhero right there. That's the person that's going to change the world today. My name is Urshel. This is Urshel Speaks. You better go to YouTube. You better like, you better subscribe, and you better share, because the world needs to hear what we have to say. Go out and make it the best day you can make it, and we'll see you next week.